Pterodactyl here. Today's video is going to be what's underneath this cover. Now, some of you grass rats are looking at that and going, I know what's underneath the cover. I know what's underneath the cover. Pull the cover off. And others are like, pull the cover off. I want to see what's underneath the cover. Well, I'm going to show you what's underneath the cover. But first, it's story time, grass rats. Gather around. Come on. You in the back. Get up here. Come on, you can hear me better. So, when Dennis from Bucket's Garage, Dennis and camera girl, Colleen from Bucket's Garage were here back in October, this had come into the scrapyard where Dennis works. And he asked me if I wanted it, and I said, sure, I'll take it. Even though I didn't want it. No, I wanted it. So I said, all right. He goes, but it's missing some parts. Okay, so that's going to make it kind of hard to fix. So this is it. This is what we got. This is what it is. Are you ready? You ready, grass rats? Ready? 1, 2, 3, 4. Come on already, Taryl. Pull off the cover. I'm clicking off. 5. Ha ha! Check it out. It's a little 2-cycle military generator. A DC generator. Low voltage. 15 volts, 30 amps, 450 watts. The only problem is it's missing this control box that went there. This is a model PE162C. Now what this was used for, the military used this for, was for running radio equipment. They could plug radios into it, communications. And this one dates back to about 1952. So Korean War era. Now it says crawler on here, but this is not a crawler engine. This is a Jacobson 2-stroke engine. And then it's got this Franklin Electric, which was made here in Indiana, DC generator on it. I believe this is a 4-pole generator. The reason it says crawler on there is because I think the military contracted Crawler to build this for them. And like any company, they went to Jacobson to get the engines, and they went to Franklin Electric to get the generator. Now, of course, it's got to be made to a bunch of military specifications because the military wants certain things on there. You know, they want it built the way they want it. So let's go over some of the stuff that's on here. So the gas tank. It's got a non-venting gas cap, and it's got a vent here they have to open because they don't want gas spilling out. They're dropping this thing out of an airplane to hit the ground in a crate. And then you would uncrate it. And then you would carry it, you know, with this canvas bag. And this canvas bag, see the handle's got these little hooks on there. And they hook in right here. So you lock that in, and then you would put this cover on. Then you could tote it around. And it's got a drawstring on it, so you could secure it at the bottom. You know, you want to keep the weather off of it. So they don't want gas sloshing around. So this is tight, and then you open this to vent it. It's got a shutoff valve here on the gas tank. So you can turn the gas on and off to the carburetor. And this is a drain, like you would have on a radiator, like on your car. You open that up and you can drain the tank. It's got an electric governor on it, or throttle control. They call it a governor, but it's basically a throttle control. You could rope start it, and on some of these generators, if you hook the 12-volt battery to it, 12-volt battery, excuse me, you could start it electrically. But this model had a control panel that went here in this area, up and down, and it was for radio equipment, communications, like I said. Another neat thing is it came with its own set of tools. So what's nice about this one is it's still got the original tools in the original packages. And it's dated June of 1952. And it tells you what's in there. And it's got Kroller part numbers on there. Probably didn't know Kroller made screwdrivers. No, they probably bought them from a source and then they put their own number on there. So the military could reorder them. So here's a screwdriver. I found this cap in there. This probably had to go for the electrical control unit that's missing. And I don't want to open any of this stuff. There's this, which is taped up, and I don't want to open it. I think I know what it is, but I'm not sure. Because again, I want to keep everything in the package. Here's this carbon scraper. Because this is a two-stroke engine. So this is probably to clean the exhaust ports. Here's a wrench. 3/8 and 7/16 open end wrench is in here. Again, dates are on there. There was this laying in there loose. I do not know what this is, and I don't want to open it. Here's another wrench, double end. 1/2 inch on one side, 9/16 on the other. Looks like an offset box end wrench. This, I believe, is an open end. Yeah, it's an open end wrench. I could feel it. What do we got here? Double end socket. Oh, this is an L-shaped wrench that has a socket on each end. 5/16 on one end, 7/16 on the other end. So you would use it like this or like this. Kind of feel it in the package. What else do we got? Brush cleaning. So I don't know if this is for the commutator, for the generator, for cleaning that, or if this is just some kind of brush. Again, I don't want to open it. I want to keep everything original. Now, somebody had opened this stuff. This is the spark plug wrench. It's got a hex on this end, and there's a hex on the other end, which we can't open. And I think this thing in here is the part that slides through that hole. That's what I think this is. This is the handle for this. Who knows? This may have even been inside here like this. I'm going to stick it in there. And then there's a hole on the other end. So you have two different sizes for this. And then what else? There's one last thing in here, I think, or maybe more. Is that it? Two things. Oh, I believe this was in here. Depth spark plug timing. This is some kind of depth gauge that went in here. Now somebody had opened this, not me. That was in there, and they had this folded up in this foil packet. So that's some kind of depth gauge. And then this here is a gauge, thickness gauge. So this must be some kind of feeler gauge. Let's see. Oh yeah, I can get this open a little bit. See if I can get this out. I don't want to wreck the package. Oh, there we go. Look at that. A&E Manufacturing Company. FG24, so that stands for feeler gauge. So for the spark plug, that's so you can bend the gap. And it's got cosmoline on it, so it keeps it from corroding while it's in there. Now there's no 20 thousandths on here, which you would use for the points. Oh no, there it is, there's 20. So yeah, you could use this for the spark plug and you could use this to set your points. Isn't that neat? I think I got a set similar to this somewhere. I'm sure they sold these to the public too, not just the military. So I can stick this back in there. I think it went in there like this, yeah. All right, there's some more goodies in here before we get down to me talking about getting it running. So I want to put all that stuff back in there. It's got this nice little pouch, tools for power unit, it even says on there. This is interesting, ain't it? It's got the dates on there. Let's move this stuff out of the way. Oh, I already wrecking stuff. Here's another little treasure box right here. And look, this is spare parts. Still in the original packages. Let's pull this stuff out because I want to put it back the way it came out. And that went like that. So what do we have here? Capacitor. May of 52. This is a condenser for the ignition. It's not for the generator part. Contact assembly magneto. This is a set of points. 6 bushing, whatever that is. I don't know what this is. And that was packed in July of 1952. And we have an adapter spark plug. I don't know what that adapter is, but I don't want to open it. So that went like that, and that went on top, and this one on the side. And then we got all these packages. Exhaust flange, 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 exhaust flange. Getting tired of hearing me say that? Cylinder head gasket and a muffin flange. Now, you're probably thinking, why would they put all those exhaust flange gaskets in there? And that must be for Philadelphia, where it was packed. I'll tell you why. Because it's a 2-stroke engine. And they used that dirty oil back then. So those exhaust ports would clog up. So they probably had to clean the exhaust ports a lot on this. So they wanted to make sure they had enough of these exhaust flange gaskets to do that. Because they might, they don't know how much they're going to be running this thing. So make sure, the general probably said, I'm the general. I'm a 4-star general. Make sure there's enough exhaust flange gaskets in there. Yes, sir, sir, yes, sir. So that goes like that, so we can stick it back in there right. Let's see what this is. Sandpaper, abrasive sheet, 4-aught sandpaper. A sheet of sandpaper. For every abrasive application. New York, United States. Finishing paper. All right, what do we got over here on this side? What's this? What's all this goodies? This is, what is this? Oh, this is a rope assembly. This is the rope to wrap around here to start it. In case you broke the rope or lost it, you had a spare one. And what are these? Spark plugs, Champion. Those special shielded spark plugs. Because again, they don't want any interference when they're running radio equipment. So everything is shielded. Everything is shielded on this unit. On most of these units. I think this went this way. Pretty interesting, huh, grass rats? This went in like that. And these went in there. This was on the side. Like this maybe. And then these were all stacked on top. Like so. Like this. Maybe like this. There we go. That's how they were. All packed in there. For our guys, for our servicemen. So they could do their job. Now, I did some research because I needed to find some information on the electrical system of this. And I found a manual. I think it was on a site called Radio Nerds. And it was pretty interesting. I read through a little bit of it, the opening part of it, about not leaving this behind for the enemy to come in contact with. So if you were going to leave this behind, they wanted you to destroy it. And it was pretty interesting to read how they wanted you to destroy it. Smash it any way possible that you had. Axe handles, shovels, whatever. Smash it up so if the enemy gets their hands on it, they can't use it against us. I know one thing you could do. Open that valve, let the gas run out, light it on fire. that would destroy it. So, my dilemma. No control box. And this cover's missing. So I get a hold of Uncle Pat. You know Uncle Pat. He's helped us out in the past. We've done some stuff of his. And you know what he said? I got a couple of these. I don't know if it's the exact same model, but I got a couple. I'll bring you what I got. And this is what he brought me. It's in a lot worse shape than the one I got from Dennis. And it's a different model. This is a P210B. Same generator though. 15 volt. 30 amp, 430 watt generator, but it's got a different control box on it. So this one, here's your positive and negative. So this one was used mainly for hooking up different things that you want to control at low voltage, and you can adjust the voltage up to about 25 to 30 volts. So you could run lights, low voltage, 12 volt lights, 6 volt lights. I know they had some of these units they had for the military that they used just for jumping vehicles. And you could adjust the voltage too. But it had heavier cables, of course, for jumping automotive batteries and truck batteries. So if you had something that was 6 volt, you turn it up to about 8 volts because you want to put more in to charge the batteries or to jump a vehicle. And if it was 12 volt, you'd crank it up to about 14. But this, from talking with Uncle Pat, he thinks they may have used these, the signal core, for runway lights. You know, they drop this out of an airplane. They drop another crate with some runway lights in it, low voltage. They don't want to run 110 volts. Depending on the conditions, you know, wet, damp conditions, you don't want to electrocute the servicemen. So they would drop this out, fire this thing up, run a string of lights, hook them into here. Now you got runway lights, temporary runway, or signal lights. So what I want to do, so we can make one complete generator, is, because this generator is in real bad shape. All these mounts are broke or rotted out. The carburetor, the choke is stuck, the throttle shaft is stuck. It doesn't have the blower shroud. It doesn't have the shielded ignition. It's got a different parts box on it. So what I want to do is get this one running and working, put this control box on it, make sure it all runs and works, and then take that power unit, engine, and generator, and then this, because this goes here, this was mounted here, I took it off, and make one complete generator out of these two, since I'm missing that other part. Plus, that other one ran radio equipment. It had different plugs, plug-ins and stuff on there. And I think this one would be more, I'd get more use out of it. But it's pretty neat. So, I wanted to make sure before we started filming that any of this stuff is good. It may not be good. And then trying to get parts or stuff to fix it or modernize it with newer, say, capacitors and stuff, that may be a tricky task. And I don't want to waste a bunch of time filming stuff and then we find out that, you know, this isn't going to work, was just a big waste of time and this stuff is garbage or it's junk or it can't be fixed. So, the first thing I did is this thing had no spark. As you can see, like I said earlier, it's got that shielded spark plug on there. You ever see a spark plug like that? That's your spark plug. This is what was in one of those paper bags. Now, a lot of you probably already know this. Because you might be into this military stuff. This is the spark plug. You gonna run the AutoZone and get one of these? Or advanced auto? Hey, give me a spark plug for T160, PE162C. What the heck is that, sir? You know, that's a 1950s low voltage military generator. Don't you know what that is, boy? So this thing had no spark. So I figure, like I do with all these videos, if you've been watching my channel, a lot of times you just got to clean the points. So I pulled this one apart to show you the ignition system on it. That's why this is the flywheel's off. So I pulled it apart and cleaned the points. Now, this is the exact same ignition, this Phalon ignition, that's on that Rio engine that we did, which I got right over here. Remember this, grass rats? Remember we did a video on this Rio? This is a 4-stroke engine. This isn't 2-stroke. This engine's got the exact same ignition system in it. Remember I had to get the points, clean the points on that to get it working? So like I said, this thing's in bad shape. Flywheel, got broken fins. Like I mentioned earlier, that's missing. The air cleaner's missing. This electric governor is frozen. The only thing good on it is the fuel tank. The fuel tank's clean, surprisingly. I'm not going to paint it and anything. It's got a clean gas tank. So that's one good thing. And check this out. The gas cap here. This is also your measuring cup. Because this is two-stroke. You got to mix the oil and gas. So you pour the oil in here. I think you poured it up to this line here, this divot. You pour the motor oil up to there, dump it in, then put your petrol in there, or gasoline. So I just wanted to show you the ignition system on this one. So I went ahead, pulled the cover off, cleaned the points, now I got spark. Gas tank, I had to clean the fuel tank. It was a little dirty. It wasn't bad. I just had to rinse it out real good. And the carburetor, it's got a little drain plug right here. I pulled that drain plug out and looked inside there through that hole, and it was clean. So I know, or I think, that whoever owned this shut the fuel valve off and ran it dry. Because once I cleaned the fuel tank and put fuel in it and got spark out of it, I was able to start it. So I don't want any of these to touch. So I'm going to show you that it runs. It's got a choke right here. And this is how you kill it. It's got this little lever right here. Of course, there's a little decal on here. Most of it's missing. That says stop. Okay, so I got it running. Now, my next task would be to hook this up. So I hooked this thing up. And it was putting out some voltage, but it wasn't putting out enough. And when you would turn this potentiometer, it wasn't changing the voltage. It was putting out about 10 volts. So I thought, okay, it's got a bunch of capacitors in here. And if you know anything about old electronics, some of these old capacitors will leak down. So I thought, all right, it's probably got bad capacitors. So I took all the capacitors out and I tested them, and I found one that was bad, this one right here. This electrolytic, old electrolytic. And this is a 0.50 MFP. So it's a half of farad, 100 volt DC. Now, when you buy a modern one, it's probably about the size of my pinky now, or my fingernail, because this is old technology. So I didn't have another one, but I started thinking, if you notice, on the end of the generator here, there's also two more capacitors that are hooked to two of the brushes. Now again, I talked to a friend of mine, Brian. He stopped by and we were talking about this, and this makes sense. He goes, these are probably, again, used for noise suppression for radio equipment. He says you could probably take those off and it would still run. You wouldn't need them and it would still work. So this other generator had them on there. Two for noise suppression. Here's one. They're a little different than the ones that are on there. So I tested it to see what the farads were with my ohms meter. And if you don't know how to do that, I can show you, but you got to have a good meter. Oh, here's my meter right here. So this one, there was no markings on it, but I know that these on this generator are a half a farad. So put it to ohms if you've got a good meter, and then you got to find the farad range right here, that little U with the F for farads. So this doesn't have a wire on each end because this is grounded. It's like a condenser. So I tested this one, and this one's bad. It should be 0.5 or 6. It's 1.4. And this one's bad. This one doesn't even read on the scale. But the other one was good, and it was within spec. And that's the one here. This was the other one. I had to make my own custom bracket for it out of some plumber scrap. Now I thought for sure this one was bad because this one had been rubbing on the commutator of that other generator, and it wore through the case. That's why I put a little silicone on there. And it wore through the front of it. And I thought, well, this one's definitely bad. I'm going to have to go on Fleabay and see if I can find one. So I tested it, and it was good. So I put it on, hooked it all back up, hooked it to here, and it was doing the exact same thing. Wasn't putting out the correct amount of juice when I was toggling this. So on the case here, it's got the wiring schematic right here. But it's all worn away. I can't see it. I can only see part of it. That ain't going to help me. So again, went to the inner screen and went to that Radio Nerds website, and they had a schematic. And I looked at the schematic, and I started studying the back of this thing and tracing down all the wires. And I noticed, let me get my little pointer. I noticed there was no wire here on the end of this potentiometer. This was empty. There was nothing hooked to it. And this wire I got hooked to it now, this wire was hooked in with this wire on this capacitor. And according to the schematic, this is supposed to be going to ground, and this, or to negative. This wire is hooked to the negative side of here. So somebody was in there messing around, didn't know what they were doing, and for some reason they took this wire off of the potentiometer and tied it in with this capacitor. So I took it off and moved it over to here and hooked it all back up, and it started working. Now you can see that somebody had changed this wire. That wasn't me. This wire in the back here with the green on it, this wire, because it's got that cloth coating on it, this wire was all falling apart and it was starting to expose the wire inside. So I took that wire off and made a new one because I didn't want it to touch ground anywhere. So now I'm going to hook this up real quick, and I'm going to show you how this works. See how it's everything is all shielded? It's got all this shielded cable on the outside. This is shielded, this is shielded. You got a ground here. Lots of grounds. So these two gray wires here, they go to the electric governor or electric throttle. just in case you might have one of these and you're trying to figure this out. So hopefully this will help. This shunt, they call it, this has to do with when you flip the switch, you could start it with this if you have a battery. Instead of using the rope, that's what that switch is for, to start it. And then you got these two heavier cables that are coming out of here. One, this one here, is hooked to the brushes or the armature, and the other one is coming off the field, off the magnets. So this would be your positive, and this would be your negative. And then these two, I'm pretty sure, have to do also with making it start with the switch. Flipping that switch and adding power to the generator to get it to spin. So if you swap these, I noticed, because I did swap them, if I didn't have them in the right place, when I hit the switch, it wouldn't crank it. It wanted to crank it. It was putting like a load on it. And then I swapped them this way, and then when I hit it, it would start it. All right, I need a screwdriver. So this positive wire goes to this side of this shunt. And then you can see we got a governor wire on there too. Let me put this in here. So yeah, a lot of messing around trying to figure out this old stuff. I'm learning too. A lot of giggle searches. And then this negative goes to here. That goes to there. And this one went to here. And I put this end on there because this wire was missing. This terminal was missing off of this wire when I got it from Dennis. So that one goes there. And then I'm going to take a jumper wire. Probably don't need to do this, but I'm going to do it anyway. And I'm going to tie in all these shielded to ground. And then I want to take the other end and I'm going to ground it to this terminal block. And now these are not polarity sensitive. You can hook these to either side of this. So since the wires aren't long enough right now until I do my swap, I'm just going to hook some jumpers up. Look at all this crap in there. You know Fluffy was in there. Look at he was chewing on that wrapper. There's probably a Reese's peanut butter cup from 1950 that he was chewing on. And look at, there's some foil there too. That's probably from Easter 1952. It's probably a Hershey's Kiss. All right. We'll hook one of these to that terminal. Come on, Mr. Alligator. I'm trying, Taryl. Jamming that thing down my throat. Just shut up, Mr. Jumper wire clamp. You shut up! You shut up! No, you shut up and clamp that wire. I'll clamp on that screw when I'm ready. Get on there. Shut up, old man. Old man. All right. Nothing's touching. We're all good. Now we can take a battery. Let me move these tools. I'm going to put these tools back in that tool pouch later. Let me stick these over here. Oh! Come here. Tools from 1952. So here's negative. Here's positive. Get over here, Mr. Cameraman. I want you to focus on that. There, we got what, 12, 13 volts? Now when I flip this lever, it's going to crank this over and start it. It's going to slow down as we lower the voltage. Now I don't know if this amp meter works. It might be bad. Might be because they had it wired wrong and it might have damaged it. Because it always stays right around 9 amps. I mean, it will move a little bit. Pretty neat, huh? Isn't that neat? You know what? I think I got a light bulb. I got a light bulb socket. But I don't have a bulb. I got my test light. This is 12 volt. But if I crank it up too high, it's going to blow that bulb. Let me get a bulb for this. I don't want to wreck my test light. Let me get this little test light thing I made up out of an old tractor socket. Hold on, grass rats. I'll be right back. I got to go get a light bulb because one just went on in my head. So we need to... Power it up, power it up, power it up. Shut up. Hold on there, grass rats. I do have the knobs. There were knobs that were on here, but I took them off so I could put those alligator clips on there for the battery to get it to start. So let's do this so we can, I'm going to blow this bulb. This way I can't sit there and try to hold the wires and turn the knob. I'll just start it with the rope. Pretty neat, huh, grass rats? It's a pretty neat piece of old technology. 1952 is what the bags were dated on there. I'm sure this might be older. But isn't that neat? That electric governor? Here, let me take this cap off so you can see inside there. Just like a big solenoid. I could start it again. And you could watch it move. There's an adjustment on there. Like a big solenoid. Pretty cool, ain't it? I like it. That's pretty nifty. All right, so we're going to cut. You don't have to sit there and watch me take this off of this frame and mount it on that frame. So I'm going to go ahead and do all that. Get this put back in its box. I'm going to clean this box up. I'm not going to paint any of this, like I said. I want to keep it with its original kind of look to it, like it's really been through a war. Hey, get what I mean? It's been through the war. I'll clean the inside out and everything, and I'll tidy up all the wires and stuff. But we'll put it back together. This canvas bag, even though that frame is taller than this frame, this bag works for this one too. See? So it'll work for that. And then we'll put all those parts in there, even though it's for a different model. But nobody will know. Shh, don't tell anybody. Don't tell anybody. So one other thing I wanted to point out before we cut to me having it all done. Inside this flywheel, it says in there, U.S. patent and the Canadian patent, 1938. So these ignition systems have been around for a long time. So 38, 40, 50, so what was that, 10 or 12 years difference there? Which, you know, we still do stuff like that today. We got stuff, technology they're still using in the 90s. Then I'll be able to put this cover on because it was missing off of that one. Should have seen this. This was all smashed and dented up. I straightened it out. I did a pretty good job, I think. This had a lot of dents in it. These little louvers were all bent, all flattened out. And I kind of straightened it out. Didn't take me long. Probably about 5-10 minutes. You could see where I was hammering on it. Just took a pair of pliers and bent those little louvers, those vents. So we'll get that mounted back on the generator. And we will have one complete U.S. Signal Corps generator the next time you see it. Oh, there's some other stuff on there. There's a lot of neat little interesting things I keep seeing that I forget to mention. Like on the end of the muffin here. Let me get a rag. Check this out. See how they got a nipple on there? So obviously, you know, they don't want to die of carbon monoxide poisoning. I'm sure they had some accessory where they could pipe this out of, say, a trailer or a tent. You know, they had a communications tent set up. Now this has got a little guy on here. This is a little 1/4 inch pipe, nipple on the end. And then look at this other one, on the one that Uncle Pat brought me. Look at that, it's got 1/2 inch pipe on there. That's got a little bit bigger. So I may put that muffin on here because it's a little bigger. Might let it breathe a little better. You know, it comes apart. There's a nut in the middle. But I'll investigate all that when I go to do the changeover. Keep watching, grass rats. We'll be right back after this commercial message. Well, here it is, grass rats. You ready for the unveiling? Ta-da! Ha ha ha! There it is. Now I said I wasn't going to paint it, but then after we got done filming, I started talking to Junior, and he goes, "You should paint it," because he talks like you guys. "You should paint it, Paul. You should paint it." So I ended up painting it. The only thing I didn't paint was the engine. So the paint I got matches exactly. And the paint I used was the same paint from when I did that 1950s Willys Jeep. I called up my friend Jason and I said, "Hey, you got some of that paint left?" And he said, "Yeah." I said, "I just need some for a little touch-up. Just got a little touch-up." So look, it turned out nice. I put everything original. I even put the original parts box. And I put all the parts in the box from the other generator. Because again, these are two different models. So look, looks like brand new. Got the lid on there, and oh, what's this? Oh, I didn't even notice this. It's got a pouch inside here. It feels like there's something in there, probably the manual. Huh, if I would have known this, I could have got the manual out and seen all the information was probably in there. Let's see what, there's no, what? Whoa, $10,000. Wow, somebody must have rat-holed, this is a rat-hole pouch, and rat-holed 10 grand in there. This is my lucky day. Woo! I'm gonna have a Merry Christmas now. 10 G's, baby. Put that in here. Well, there it is, grass rats. That's a nice find there. Don't tell anybody. So yeah, the manual probably went in there, but of course it's missing, but there was something better than the manual, 10 grand. So there it is, got it all fixed up. Looks like new money again. Now we just need to power something with it. Check it out. We're running a Christmas tree off of this, off of that little generator. But first, I need to make a very important radio transmission. We're tracking Santa right now, so hold on. Phantom 6, come in, over.
Phantom 6, over.
Do you have eyes on Jelly Belly, over?
You mean Santa Claus? Not yet, General. Over.
Did you check your 6? 6, over?
Whoa! Whiskey Tango Foxtrot, General. He's right behind me. Over.
Well, I'm past you, Zoomy. He needs to make it to Podunk in one piece. I don't want this mission to turn into a soup sandwich. Over.
Copy that, General. Over.
If anything should happen to my Weepy, the Wee-Wee Boy, or Hangover Pete, I'll make sure that you're our newest latrine queen. Do you copy that, Zoomy?
Leave a Charlie on that, General. Over.
Bravo Zulu, Zoomy. Now it's time for me to go get me some jumpy juice. Charlie Mike, over.
10-4, General.
That Zoomy better not mess this up, or I'll pull him out of that plane by his fart sack, and I'll make sure he gets a taco. And I don't mean the kind you eat with your crumb catcher. Copy that. Well, there you have it, grass rats. 15 volt, 30 amp, 1952, Korean era, military signal corps, little baby generator. Isn't that thing cool? I like it. So, Pterodactyl here for Sparkplug General. Check out our web store. We got all kinds of stuff there. Maybe there's something there for you for Christmas. Follow me with your military equipment. Facebook, Instagram, TikTok. And as always, there's your dinner. Woo! Merry Christmas! Woo! Happy holidays and have a happy new year.